Hey guys, and welcome back to Life with Vicx. So today I'm going to be letting you into a few of the best kept secrets by travellers. Okay, so we've all got that friend who's been backpacking and tells us just how amazing life is on the road.
I'm on my gap year at the moment. Yeah, I know, it's amazing.
Or maybe you've been researching your first trip and you've been looking at picture perfect Instagram feeds or even the highlight reels of some of your favourite travel content creators. Now don't get me wrong, travelling is an amazing experience and quitting my job to travel full time is one of the best decisions I ever made. I wouldn't change any of it for the world. However, I am here to share with you 6 things that I wish I knew before leaving for my full-time travels. I'll tell you the good, the bad and the ugly truths of travellers all over the world. And yes, every single traveller feels exactly the same. They just don't want to tell you. Stick around till the end so I can show you why you should choose to travel. And that's it. Let's get into it. Okay, so we've all seen the infamous picture of the hot air balloons in Turkey, or maybe even the pictures of people eating picnics under the Eiffel Tower. However, travel isn't always that glam. Let's take the hot air balloon ride in Turkey as an example. I did it and it was truly one of the best experiences I've ever had, and it was something that I'd seen on my Instagram feed for years, so naturally it made it into my really long bucket list. And yes, I also created that Wanderlust Instagram image. However, people often don't talk about the 10-hour full bus that I had to get on from Antalya that took me a day to recover from, or the fact that I had to wait 5 days to even get on the balloon because the weather was so bad. We had to go around every single tour provider in the whole of Cappadocia just to even get a reasonable price, and every single price was different. And the fact that my friend and I were supposed to do it together and we ended up getting completely different balloons, and she even missed the sunrise. However, you have to make the most of these things and what happens in between. So after the long overnight bus, I spent the day relaxing in some of the most beautiful scenery I've ever seen in Cappadocia. We spent the 5 days leading up to even getting into the balloon, hiking through the most spectacular landscapes I've ever seen in Cappadocia, which ended up being some of my highlights of my entire trip. If you haven't seen my hiking videos, then be sure to check them out after this. I'll leave the links in the description box. Then because of the mix-up of the day, of me and my friend being split up, we were given the opportunity to take an ATV ride through the sunset and the valleys of Cappadocia, and it was incredible. Something I just definitely wouldn't have paid for because it just didn't fit into my budget. And to top it all off, we were given access to one of the best hotels in the whole of Cappadocia to watch the balloons over sunrise the next day. So it does just show you that you can still have these picture perfect moments. However, there's often quite a journey just to even get to that point. So you've got to make the most of all these curveballs that travel life throws at you. And it doesn't always happen, but with a positive mindset, you can make these more dull moments something that you learn from, or even moments that you'll remember forever. Imagine this, you're your travel planner, safety guard, communications officer between you and your loved ones, full-time warrior and even a storyteller. Sprinkle this with having to tell your life story every single time you walk in a door and having to pack everything you own into a tiny little rucksack every day, and it often doesn't fit. And having to choose to show up for yourself every day. It might not sound too bad now, but I can tell you that these are the things that every single backpacker moans about on a daily basis, even if they don't want to tell you. When you travel, you no longer have weekdays, weekends, or that beloved Sunday to rest and recover, which we all love. If you choose to spend a day chilling on the beach, which is really rare, trust me, you are filled with the anxiety of,
oh no, I have nowhere to stay tomorrow. Where am I going next? Did I actually book that flight already?
Then you spend much of the day doing exactly all the things that exhaust you and you're not really relaxing. Now, if you are just planning a short trip, you probably won't have the problem of having to work out your every move every day before checkout. But if you are planning to travel long term, I highly recommend not trying to fit too much in. It doesn't matter if Google or a fellow backpacker tells you,
you should only be able to stay there for 2 days.
If you need an extra day just to plan your next step, then so be it, do it. There is also nothing wrong with just sitting in your room and having a full Netflix day. The best thing now is that most hostels have curtains so you can shut that person out who does not shut up, because every single hostel has one of those people. Okay, so dude, I was like totally checking out this like Amazon forest, and then there was like this huge spider that came and jumped on my shoulder, and it was fucking crazy. So Where have you come from? What's your name? Oh, will you please just shut up? I also think it's really important to plan in me days, and these could be really simple. They might look like going to get a massage, booking a private room, going to the cinema by yourself, or even just going to the local coffee shop and sitting in a corner and reading a book. I can't tell you how much you'll value these days when you're actually traveling. I personally often book a private room for about 3 days, once every 2 weeks. I find that's enough, and they don't have to break the bank, so there's loads of cheap options on booking.com and Airbnb. I also like to do a bit of retail therapy so I can just feel a little bit more human again, but again, secondhand clothes is your best friend when you've got a budget. And like everybody, I sometimes just like to shut those curtains to the rest of the world, pick out my favourite snacks and binge watch all my favourite TV shows from home. Now, there is nothing wrong with travel burnout, we all have it, but just think about the things that are important to you and factor these into your plans so that you can minimise the risk of feeling overwhelmed. Okay, so you just checked into a hostel and there's loads of people about, or maybe there isn't, but you still feel a bit lonely. I can tell you, you are not the only one. As I just mentioned, sometimes you need some alone time, but actually you still feel lonely. They're two different things. And that is me all over living the life of an introverted extrovert. In this case, I'd recommend booking a private room that's in a hostel. Then you can choose when to interact and engage with others, but it's always on your terms. You'd be surprised by how many people actually do this. At home, we've all got that family member or friend that knows you inside out and you can talk to all the time. But when you travel solo, you're most likely going to be traveling with new people every couple of days. So you only really get to know them on like a surface level. And that's not to say that you won't make some long-lasting friendships, because oh my god, I have met some of my bestest friends in the whole world whilst traveling. Because I hate to break it to you and it's a hard truth, but those people back at home will not be able to relate to you and your stories, and they'll just be busy with their own lives. But that's okay. Sometimes my plans change just because I meet the most incredible people and I want to spend more time with them. And you can do this too. Just don't be that person who tags along to plans if the other person needs their own space.
You'll know.
And if you're the person who needs their own space, then don't be afraid to just say, I need some time alone. Or maybe you're an introvert and meeting people is difficult. Most hostels host different events like beer pong and stuff like that, and I can guarantee you 9 out of 10 times somebody else will approach you in a conversation. You don't always need to do the work. Again, that's me all over being the extrovert in the room. Also, Hostel World has this great feature where you can actually communicate with people that are staying in your hostel. So you could post your plans in that group and see if anybody wants to tag along, or even just turning up for a free walking tour. I can't tell you how many friends I've made just on these tours, because if there's one thing, you are all usually in the same boat, and that is new to the area, so naturally you've already got something in common. Or you might find yourself in a place where there's literally no people, and that is just unlucky. But you could try striking up a conversation with a local in the shop. Sometimes we only need like a little bit of human interaction to get by. If that's not enough, then don't be afraid to just move on. As I said, sometimes it's exhausting meeting new people all the time, and sometimes you just need a little bit of human interaction. It's all about getting that balance perfect when traveling. We can all relate to FOMO. The person you just met is going on the most incredible excursion, but it just does not fit in your timescale or your budget. Don't worry. When I started traveling, I wanted to do everything that every place had to offer. However, that just isn't feasible unless you have unlimited time and unlimited budget, and let's be honest, most of us do not have that luxury. This is still something that I struggle with every single day, but it is something that I'm learning, and it's one of the hardest tips to master. You need to learn to be able to say no and to prioritize. You might even have the option of 3 things, but you only have the time or the budget to do one. Then you have to figure out what's the most important to you. What can't you do elsewhere, or simply what can you afford realistically? You might also have somebody telling you that they've
Traveled 75 countries.
and you want to do that too, but don't forget the reason why you started traveling. It might be because you wanted to learn the cultures of the places that you wanted to visit. It might be because you wanted to grow as a person, or it might even just be that you wanted to have a sense of adventure. So don't rush through every country. Just have an impressive number to share with the next person you meet, because most likely you will forget who they are in 2 weeks. That is not to say that you can't do things that are outside of your bigger purpose. Just look at the bigger picture when making these decisions. We've all fallen victim for that rip-off boat tour. If there is one thing that every traveller will learn, is that not everything goes to plan. You could spend 3 months traveling your perfect trip and then you fall in love with the place, or maybe you even fall in love with a person.
What?
Or you could have booked a trip to see the dolphins, but all of the dolphins decided to take the day off because they didn't want to turn up for their daily photo appearance. Yes, dolphins also need days off. As with every good night out, it is often when things don't go to plan that end up amazing. Everyone's got that story of the best night out they've ever had, and usually it starts off with a,
Oh, I just went for one.
if everything was perfect, nothing would feel perfect anymore. I have many stories where things didn't go to plan, and the story of Cappadocia is just one of thousands. And maybe it is the universe just telling you that it just wasn't meant to be. Unless it was that romantic connection, then do me a favour, go to the shop, buy that tub of ice cream that's been screaming at you all day and just eat it. But be open to everything that happens, and who knows, you might just end up doing something even more perfect. It's just not the way that you planned it. Dude, I'm like totally traveling to find myself. It might sound cliche, but I can tell you, traveling teaches you so much about yourself. One, it gives you invaluable lessons on how to keep yourself safe, how to plan, and even just directional skills. But that's not really what we mean, is it? Traveling is an amazing experience that throws you way out of your comfort zone. Whether it's your first trip or you really are on country number 75. With this comes a lot of self-discovery. I cannot tell you how much traveling has made me more independent. When I started, I wouldn't even eat anything that wasn't beige, and I'd never cooked in my life. Now I'm famous at home for my roast potatoes and salads. Okay, maybe only with my mum, but at least I'm trying. I know what I want and what I don't want in life. And yeah, it did take me 6.5 years to figure that out and quit my job, but oh well. That is some of the amazing things that travel can bring to you. Now, all these things might not be the same for you, but I can promise you one thing, you will not leave the same. You will inevitably learn something about yourself that you just never thought. I'm still learning new things, as you do with every phase of life, but to me, that is one of the most exciting things about travel. Finally, if I've not already convinced you to travel, then take the trip. It might just be the best thing that you ever do. It certainly was for me. Travel's a beautiful gift and not everybody gets to experience it, and I'm reminded of that every single day. Now, step outside your comfort zone and make new memories. These are the moments you will remember for the rest of your life. Most of the time, I don't even remember what I had for dinner last night, but I do remember the first time I took a trip when I was 18 to Australia, meeting the first ever kangaroo called Josie, and she was adorable. Now that's it for my top 6 things that I wish somebody had told me before I started traveling. Have you guys learned anything whilst you've been on the road that you'd like to share? If you do, please leave a comment down below so that we can share it with the rest of the travel community. And don't forget, if you did like this video, please do like, subscribe and tap the notification bell so you can keep up to date with my journey. Bye!